It's God 2.0. Bam, bam, bam. You're wrong, I'm right. God needs me to, kill people to make it all good and stuff. Okay, gotta get my act together here. Okay. In order for something to work, you need an enemy. Hi, how you doing? Let's get to it right away. This is the eve of Occupy Wall Street and all that sort of stuff happening in the United States of America, that great nation which is no nation. And the thought crossed my mind, it's like, well, you know what? If you're going to occupy old structures that are outmoded, it might be time to address something that is really outmoded, and that is this, okay? And I know what I'm talking about, all right? You've heard of this? The Holy Bible. Oh, you atheists, you smart people, don't turn away just yet. It's going to be fun, trust me. And then there's this, called the Quran, okay? In the Holy Bible, it's not one book, it's two books. It's the text of the Jews and the text of the so-called Christians. And then there's this book called the Quran, which is the Muslims. And over the years, they've been like, bam, 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 you're wrong, I'm right. God needs me to, kill people to make it all good and stuff. Well, time's up for them. The leaders of religion have been put on notice and their stars have fallen from heaven, not just now, but a while ago. So what you got is the afterglow, just like these banks that once upon a time maybe had a use or something like that, and now we know that they're just sort of a little place for thieves and so forth to take advantage of the people. It's about you the person who's now in your, on the other side of the thing, just happen to stop by. So, and the reason you're stopping by is, who knows? No, I know. Here's the reason you're stopping by. Okay, gotta get my act together here. Okay, a lot to cover, thousands of years of stuff to cover. Back in the day, it worked like this. Under the tree, right? You remember that story? There's a tree, knowledge of good and evil, and then girl and guy, we don't know anything, and then some frickin' serpent of some kind is like, come here, girlfriend, try this out, it's really good. Don't trust him, he doesn't want you to eat it because you'll be smart. Sure enough, ate it, okay, and then everyone got smart, and then you started developing hedge funds and, war and revolution and all that sort of stuff, and monarchies and so forth, and the plow and cars and mechanics and whatever. But here we are in this latter day, and trust me, these are the latter days. If you don't know that, that's because we're gonna fix that out. We're gonna occupy God. So now is the latter day, okay, and now the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, everyone's eaten of it, and man, sin has entered the world, or whatever that is, and people are looking for death and not finding it, and blah, 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 blah. And so you get a bunch of people that promote that they know this word, and then they turn it into this nasty thing where they beat the snot out of little kids and make them go to Sunday school and then repress their sexuality and all the stuff that's organic and natural. And as a result, there's a big backlash among a lot of smart people, especially in this day. Bam, 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 you're wrong, I'm right. God needs me to, kill people to make it all good and stuff. But we're not that smart yet. It's only been about a couple of hundred years that we're smart enough to read our own books and do things like that. So the point of the matter is that these Occupy Wall Street and occupy everything and worrying about the financial system, it'll all be well and good, except for what happens is there are a group of people who are addicted to being the 1%, and who can blame them? If you were part of the 1%, you'd love it too. Trust me, that's the way it works. We set it up that way. In order for something to work, you need an enemy. The true wealth, the true richness, the ability to penetrate through the barriers that people surround themselves with comes about not from out here, but from inside. So if the rich man sitting at his table and flying his jet to Paris or whatever, all of a sudden inside himself is penetrated in the heart, and all of a sudden the food he tastes, which is this refined whatever it is, shellfish caviar combination from wherever it is, served by some nice island girl with a Mai Tai or something, all of a sudden tastes bitter, like sulfur, like brimstone, like wormwood. Then you start to win. Once you lose an interest in the stuff, when he tastes the blood of the little Haitian child who's dying of AIDS, or he feels the toxins that are coming from the Chinese production place which he's invested in, and all of a sudden all the joys, that temple, that lovely palace that they've surrounded themselves in becomes a prison cell and becomes a nightmare. And that's the only hope we're going to have to loosen up the structures that are limiting what is essentially the kingdom of heaven, which is at hand. You got an earth, you got grass, you got cool girls, guys, we got hygiene, we got water for showers. Never happened for thousands of years. We've got underwear. Underwear is such a new invention, people don't appreciate it, right? It's about you the person. and all these sort of elements. Never mind all the widgets and gadgets like the internet, like the iPhone, the iPad, the I. We created little prisons out of the new technologies and everything to make people separate from each other, and that way we can all be controlled a little bit better. But it's okay, it's fun. That's the whole point of Occupy God. Unlike what people think religion is, or etc., it's really meant to be fun. There is a God, and I can tell you, I know that better than anybody else. Because we have a relationship. You can call it a love-hate relationship. Chances are you don't really understand it, because the fact of the matter is, who do I work for? Who do I love best? That is not him. It's you. That's been the whole point, because I love you, and the thing is, I love you so much that he hooked me up with a job to do, even if it's not rewarding, even if I can't pay my rent, right? Anyway, point of the matter is, okay, here's the basic theory. Basic theory is, these three things, they're not meant to be separate, they're meant to be one. They inform each other, and it's not about the religions or the meanings that people think that are there. It's about you and your own brain and your own mind. If you're even just a little bit literate, then you can access those things directly. And what better place than in the United States of America, with freedom of speech and freedom of all that sort of stuff. The people that think, that are wrapped just like the bankers, that we look and go, hey, you're telling us a bunch of stuff and you think you're smart, but you know, we know you're ripping us off. We already know that the quote-unquote leaders of religion are full of crap. Bam, bam, bam. You're wrong, I'm right. God needs me to, you know, kill people to make it all good and stuff. So it works for them and it sustains their structure. So there's only one thing. You got to get your body with your mind and your eyes and open up the book. The only problem is some of you guys have gotten so smart and you're like, well, it's going to be about if there's no Santa Claus and there's no Tooth Fairy, then there can be no Jesus. Wrong. There was definitely a Jesus. It wasn't Jesus like people tell you it is, that are leaders of the church, some voodoo god that does magic. It was a dude that gave a big SH about everyone here, to the point that he did what he did. And he wasn't the finality of it, and he wasn't God. Get over the whole thing. That's what the problem the churches had with the Quran. The Quran was going, hey, Jesus was, and you can read it yourself, Jesus was A-okay, but you know what? He wasn't God, okay? And you need to recorrect some of that thinking. A lot of Christians or so-called Christians won't like that, but the fact of the matter is most people who call themselves Christians aren't. Trust me, I know you're not Christians, and that's why it says, in that day people will say, Lord, Lord, I did cast out demons and did works in your name. And the Lord says, get away, I don't know you. And so, get away, I don't know you. This is about the kids, this is about the people who really want to make a change on planet Earth for their bodies, for their lives, for their futures, and for the planet's future, to understand that it's all good, all the thinking, all the reorganizing of economic structure and taking care of the ozone and trying to be an activist and all that sort of stuff. But if you don't understand that all the structures and systems that you're fighting against are informed, for better or worse, by the misunderstanding and misapplication of these particular texts, bam, 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 you're wrong, I'm right, God needs me to, you know, kill people to make it all good and stuff, then you're fighting an uphill battle. So all it is these are limited. This Bible, it's, you know, thank you Gideons, by the way, you guys, the authorized King James Version of the Bible, that's the text for Occupy God, text 1. The second text is the Quran. This one's spelt with a K, published by Penguin Edition, and it was translated by N.J. Dawood. What you need to get is the one, the updated translation that's after 1990, when N.J. Dawood changed the opening sentence of the chapters of the Quran from "in the name of Allah," he changed it to "in the name of God," because people are so fixated on small words they're willing to kill each other, and then the powers that be know that all they need to do is say a little word and everyone will get all bent out of shape. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it on my part what I can to figure out using Facebook, Google, blah, 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 I, and deal with all that sort of stuff to do a blog called Occupy God. We'll make it fun. I'll teach you how to read it. Read it fast, download it, and then you get this if you can. It's harder to get, but if you just go to a regular like Barnes & Noble bookstore and you look for this, or your used bookstore, it's the Penguin edition of the Quran. And the thing is, Sam Harris, the atheist and all that stuff, great stuff. If you read that stuff, bring that brain along too, because the fact of the matter is, it's a retooling. It's God 2.0. If we know more, if we were still working with science and the models that the Greeks had, we'd be in a whole heap of trouble. The fact of the matter is, our collective human understanding has grown and developed. We'll touch on that with reading from Nietzsche, reading from Julian, Jaynes' Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, Alphabet versus the Goddess, Theodore Roszak and all that stuff. And then also things like current social things like Naomi Wolf's work, which is fantastic, and Susan Faluti's Backlash, the idea about women and men. So if you're a gal, or if you know gals, get on board here, okay? And I'll try and make them quick and whatever, and it'll be stuff that you can do. There's going to be no dogma. There's going to be nothing to offer you. We're just going to destroy and occupy. So there's going to be two enemies here, because in order for something to work, you need an enemy. So enemy number one is the clergy, the people that profess to know something and stand up at pulpits and tell people what to do, and then make them go stand in front of abortion clinics with little nasty little pictures and traumatized girls, as if Jesus would do that. There's virtually nothing that any church does that Jesus would be remotely interested, least of all Fox TV. And if it sounds left-leaning, it probably is, because Jesus be more like that than Rush, Limbaugh, or even Ledbeck, or whatever those characters are. So then the other thing is, the other enemy is we need an enemy, something to destroy and be pissed off at and take down and want to see their blood drip. And it's not dictators and people that are a part of the Middle East or banking human beings, etc. It's the corporation. So if you get a chance, see The Corporation on Hulu.com. I'll try and put a link. I don't know how that stuff works. Maybe in the annotations. Maybe I'll make annotations. Won't that be cool? Annotations. The Corporation, which is a movie, a documentary that you can get on Hulu.com and watch for free. It's about 2 hours. You might want to check that out. But it'll explain the nature of the corporation. Corporations don't have blood. They're not humans, etc. But they possess. The corporation is the beast that was and is not and yet is described in the book of Revelation. And what you'll find is that the Bible is totally 100% modern in every aspect, as well as the Quran. And everything that is happening and we're doing is unfolding itself like DNA. DNA is hidden inside of us. The Word of God, quote unquote, whatever that is, has always been with us, inside of us, in between our DNA, in between our cells, unfolding itself and growing while we grow with it. So our understanding needs to grow too. It's God 2.0, and we're at the time of the end, as it says, of our collective childhood. Our way of understanding it is like a second grader looking at stuff and not understanding it. It's God 2.0. We're at a different place, and it doesn't make a difference how young you are, because you're smart enough to be online when you shouldn't, if you're under 13, right? And your Facebook page and all that stuff. And if you're older and you can read magazines and blah blah blah, you can read this. And if you haven't read this, there's the judgment. The judgment is, it's a finite book. If you haven't done it, it's just not about believing or not believing. It's about I. I'll teach you how to read it for free, as long as you get your copy, authorized King James Version of the Bible. It starts with the two easiest words, in the. If you can read in the, and then his beginning, which is kind of long, but anyway, if you can read that in English, you can read the whole thing. And by the time you're done reading both of these books, you'll know exactly what's going on, and you'll be exactly who you are, and nothing will change. All right. Okay. If you're confused about this, don't be confused about it. Hang in. Think about it for a second, because the ones that are wearing the frocks and the cloaks and all the holy garments and all the suits and all dressed up and are jacking you up on the back end, unfortunately, the uniform of righteousness has changed. It's more like blue jeans and T-shirts and things like that. Maybe that's why they're called Levi's, like the tribe of Levi. We'll find out more later, okay? Occupy God. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, rate, comment. I don't care what it is. But if I don't like the comment, I'm going to take them off, because that's the way it is, okay? It's God 2.0. All right, thank you very much, and peace out.